The 2024 presidential election is shaping up to be one of the most closely watched in recent memory. President Joe Biden is facing a tough challenge from Republican nominee's name. Polls show a dead heat in many key states. Every vote could make the difference. But there's another factor that could play a decisive role: the weather. We often underestimate the impact of weather on our daily lives, and that includes voting. Bad weather can make it difficult or even impossible for people to get to the polls. This can have a significant impact on voter turnout, especially in close elections. Imagine a downpour on election day, or icy roads making travel treacherous. These conditions can deter even the most dedicated voters. The recent hurricanes, Helene and Milton, have already wreaked havoc on the East Coast. These storms brought torrential rains, flooding, and power outages to millions. The impact on infrastructure and daily life has been severe. While the storms have passed, their effects are still being felt, and their memory could linger in the minds of voters come Election Day. North Carolina, a crucial swing state, was hit particularly hard by both Helene and Milton. The state is still recovering from widespread flooding and damage. Many residents are grappling with displacement, property loss, and disrupted lives. This could have a significant impact on voter turnout in the state. Will people be able to get to the polls? Will they be focused on rebuilding their lives rather than casting a ballot? The numbers don't lie: weather and voter turnout. The relationship between these two factors is more significant than many might think. When we talk about voter turnout, we often consider factors like political campaigns, candidate popularity, and key issues. However, the weather can play an equally crucial role in determining how many people actually make it to the polls. Research has shown a clear correlation between weather and voter turnout. When the skies open up and the rain pours down, or when snow blankets the streets, fewer people are willing to brave the elements to cast their vote. This phenomenon has been studied extensively, and the data consistently supports the idea that inclement weather can significantly reduce voter participation. A 2007 study by researchers at Harvard found that a 1-inch increase in rainfall on Election Day reduces voter turnout by about 1%. This might not seem like a large number at first glance, but in the context of tight races, it can be incredibly impactful. Imagine a scenario where the margin of victory is razor thin. A 1% drop in turnout could easily sway the results. Other studies have found similar results, with bad weather consistently suppressing voter participation. Snowstorms, heavy rain, and even extreme heat can deter people from heading to the polls. It's not just about the inconvenience. Bad weather can also pose safety risks, making it more challenging for people to travel to their designated voting locations. In a tight race like the one we're facing, even a small dip in turnout can be decisive. Every vote counts, and when weather conditions are unfavorable, the impact on the election's outcome can be substantial. This is why it's crucial for voters to plan ahead and be prepared for any weather conditions on Election Day. Whether it's bringing an umbrella, wearing warm clothing, or arranging transportation, taking these steps can ensure that your voice is heard, rain or shine. Does bad weather favor Republicans? Some analysts believe that bad weather tends to benefit Republican candidates. The theory is that Republican voters are more likely to be older, wealthier, and more likely to own cars. This means they are less likely to be deterred by bad weather. While this theory is debated, it's a factor that cannot be ignored. If bad weather does suppress turnout, it could disproportionately affect Democratic voters. Echoes of elections past: weather's long shadow. The influence of weather on the democratic process is a fascinating and often overlooked aspect of history. From the earliest days of voting, the elements have played a subtle yet significant role in shaping the outcomes of elections. History is replete with examples of weather influencing election outcomes. The impact of weather on voter turnout and behavior is a topic that has intrigued historians and political scientists alike. Rain, snow, and even extreme heat can deter voters from heading to the polls, potentially altering the course of history. In the 1960 presidential election, heavy rain in Illinois is believed to have contributed to John F. Kennedy's narrow victory over Richard Nixon. The weather on that fateful day may have discouraged many voters from venturing out, particularly those who might have supported Nixon. This small but crucial factor could have tipped the scales in Kennedy's favor, demonstrating the power of weather in the electoral process. Similarly, the 2000 election, decided by a razor-thin margin in Florida, was held on a day with scattered showers across the state. The weather conditions on Election Day may have influenced voter turnout, particularly in key areas. The close nature of the race meant that even a small change in voter behavior could have had a significant impact on the final result. While it's impossible to say for certain whether weather changed the outcome of these elections, it's clear that it played a role. The interplay between weather and voting behavior is a complex and multifaceted issue. Weather can affect not only the number of people who vote, but also the mood and mindset of the electorate. On a rainy day, voters might be more likely to stay home, while on a sunny day, they might feel more motivated to participate in the democratic process. The long shadow of weather continues to loom over elections, reminding us of the many factors that can influence the outcome of our democratic choices. The Electoral College system adds another layer of complexity to the weather equation. Because the presidency is decided not by the popular vote but by electoral votes, weather in a handful of swing states can have an outsized impact. Imagine a scenario where bad weather suppresses turnout in a state like Wisconsin or Pennsylvania, both of which have historically close elections. Those few thousand missing votes could be the difference between victory and defeat. As Election Day approaches, all eyes are on the weather forecast. The anticipation is palpable, with citizens and political analysts alike glued to their screens, eager to see how the weather might influence voter turnout. Weather apps are being checked more frequently than ever, and news channels are dedicating significant airtime to meteorological predictions. Preliminary forecasts for November Day are showing a mixed bag across the country. Meteorologists are working around the clock to provide the most accurate predictions, knowing that even a slight change in weather can have a significant impact on voter behavior. The nation is divided not just by political lines, but by weather patterns that could sway the election results. The Northeast could see rain and chilly temperatures, which might deter some voters from heading to the polls. Historically, inclement weather has been known to reduce voter turnout, particularly among those who are less committed or have to travel longer distances to vote. Campaigns are strategizing on how to mobilize their base despite the potential weather challenges. While the South is expecting mild and sunny conditions, this could lead to higher voter turnout in southern states, where pleasant weather makes it easier for people to get out and vote. Campaigns in these regions are optimistic, hoping that the favorable weather will work in their favor and bring more supporters to the polls. The Midwest and West are still too far out to predict with certainty. These regions are known for their unpredictable weather, and a sudden change could either boost or hinder voter turnout. Campaigns are keeping a close eye on these areas, ready to adapt their strategies as more accurate forecasts become available. As the days tick by, both campaigns will be watching the weather maps closely, analyzing every update and adjusting their plans accordingly. Weather can be a wild card in any election, and this year is no different. Campaign staff are working tirelessly, preparing for all possible scenarios to ensure they can maximize voter turnout regardless of the weather, hoping for favorable conditions in key states. These states could be the deciding factor in the election, and both sides are aware of the stakes. Good weather could mean long lines of enthusiastic voters, while bad weather could lead to lower turnout and potentially change the outcome. As Election Day draws near, the nation remains on edge, waiting to see how the weather will play its part in this crucial moment in history. The 2024 election is poised to be one of the most consequential in a generation. The outcome will have a profound impact on the direction of the country, and as we've seen, weather could play a significant role in determining that outcome. Every vote matters, every state matters, and as we've explored, every weather front matters. No matter the weather, the most important thing is for every eligible American to exercise their right to vote. Make a plan to vote early if possible, or check the forecast and be prepared for whatever conditions Election Day may bring.